Chase makes his choice, and Brooklyn gets the husband she needed. Oh, darlings, after everything that has been building between Chase and Brooklyn, all the accusations, all the defending, all the painful conversations that kept circling the same impossible center, we have finally arrived at a moment that is going to tell us everything about what this man truly values. And what Chase does in the wake of Brooklyn's confession is not what everyone expected. Not even close. Let us set the scene. Brooklyn admitted it. She framed Willow. She bought Lucy's cooperation with deception shares. She manipulated the GPS evidence. She constructed a legal nightmare for someone who had already been through more than enough. And she did it because she was frightened. Because she watched her husband defend his ex with a fierceness he has never quite managed to turn toward her. Because she felt herself losing something precious and panicked in the worst possible way. Chase heard all of it. And now he has to decide what to do with it. The obvious move, the move that the detective in him, the man who has always stood for doing right, the person who spent this entire storyline furiously defending Willow's innocence, would be to report it. To turn Brook, Lynn, Indiana. To let the system he believes in handle what she did. But Chase is not going to do that. And the reason he is not going to do that is actually the most meaningful thing about this entire situation. He is not going to blow up his marriage. He is not going to derail the adoption of a little girl who has already been through too much uncertainty. He is not going to sacrifice the family he has been building on the altar of a principle, however real and however right that principle might be. What Chase is going to do instead is something that Brooklyn has been quietly aching for. He is going to turn toward her. He is going to put boundaries in place around Willow. Real ones. Not because he was told to, not because someone forced his hand, but because standing in the wreckage of what his blind spot has cost his marriage, he finally sees it clearly. He has been so focused on being Willow's champion that he failed to be Brooklyn's husband. And that failure has consequences he is no longer willing to ignore. Will this fix everything between them immediately? No. Brooklyn is still hiding the biggest secret of all, that she was the driver who left Jordan at that crash scene. And when that truth eventually surfaces, Chase is going to feel the ground shift under him all over again. But today, in this moment, Chase chooses his marriage. He chooses Phoebe. He chooses the life he and Brooklyn have been building. And for Brooklyn, who has been fighting for this with increasingly desperate measures, that choice means everything. Jason comes home changed, and Danny is everything now. Now, darlings, let us talk about the homecoming that every fan of this show has been counting down to, because Jason is back in Port Charles. But the man who walked back through that door is carrying something that prison and time and the particular darkness of a black site in Indonesia put inside him. And it has fundamentally rearranged his priorities in ways that are going to affect everyone around him. He has been through hell. That is not an exaggeration. The conditions he was held under were brutal. Months of isolation, of rough treatment, of having nothing but time and the inside of his own head for company. And what a man thinks about when stripped of everything else, that is who he really is. That is what actually matters to him underneath all the roles and identities and loyalties he carries in ordinary life. Jason thought about Danny over and over and over. His son, the boy who only has him, who lost his mother, and was left with a father who kept disappearing into dangerous situations that left Danny alone to figure out how to handle things he should never have had to handle alone. And from a prison cell in Indonesia, Jason watched none of it but felt all of it. He knew Danny was out there without him. He knew his absence was costing his son something that could not simply be returned when he got home. When Jason finds out everything Danny did while he was gone, approaching Sonny about working for him, getting arrested trying to break into a WSB facility, throwing himself into the middle of the Spoon Island situation, he is going to understand something viscerally that he had only understood intellectually before. Danny is his father's son. And his father's son, left without guidance and shaped by the world around him, gravitates naturally toward exactly the kind of danger that has defined Jason's life. That is not what Jason wants for Danny. That is the thing he absolutely cannot accept. And it is going to be the engine behind every significant choice Jason makes going forward. The mob is going to take a step back. The romance is going to take a step back. Everything takes a step back except Danny. Because Jason has come home having made a decision in the dark that if he gets out, if he gets another chance, he is going to be the father Danny actually needs rather than the father Danny has had to work around. Sunny is going to feel this. Britt is going to feel this. And the ripples of Jason choosing differently are going to move through this city in ways that nobody has fully mapped out yet. Jordan reconsiders, and Sidwell's trap may already be closing. And now, darlings, we close this week with a storyline that is quietly, dangerously, building towards something that could cost Jordan far more than she realizes. Because the woman who walked out of that police station visitation room after telling Sidwell no, she was not as certain as she appeared. And what Sidwell said to her, what he offered her, is sitting inside her and doing exactly what it was designed to do. Let's be honest about what is really happening here. Sidwell took deliberate, calculated digs at Jordan's appearance. He was cruel about it in the specific way that a man like Sidwell is cruel, not with rage but with precision. He identified a vulnerability and pressed on it with a kind of casual ease that makes it hurt worse than outright cruelty would. He made her feel the weight of what she looks like now. And then he offered her a solution. The same clinic that restored Michael. The same level of care that turned a devastating injury into a recovery that Port Charles still talks about in amazed terms. A waiting list Jordan could never get on through normal channels. A price tag Jordan could not pay on her own. All of it available if she does one thing for Sidwell. She said no. She walked away. She held her ground. But she has not stopped thinking about it. And that hesitation, that brief, telling moment of second thoughts visible on her face as she left, is exactly what Sidwell was banking on. He has been reading people his entire life. He knew she would not be done with the question just because she answered it once. The practical complications alone are enormous. Curtis is heading toward a trial that Jordan may need to testify in. She has responsibilities here, relationships here, a baby coming into her orbit that changes everything about what she owes the people around her. A secret trip to Zurich to drain Sidwell's accounts, followed by time in a German clinic. None of that fits quietly into her current life. And there is the deeper danger that Jordan, in the particular fog of wanting something she has been denied, may not be seeing clearly enough. Sidwell does not make deals that benefit other people more than himself. Everything he offers comes with something hidden inside it. He threatened her when she said no. He told her she would suffer for refusing him. What if the deal he is now dangling is not a deal at all, but a way to get Jordan somewhere isolated, somewhere controllable, somewhere that a man who threatened to make her pay can follow through on that threat without witnesses? Jordan used to be sharp enough to see traps like this from a distance, but grief and pain and the specific vulnerability that comes with being told repeatedly that something about you needs to be fixed, that can blur even the sharpest instincts. And Sidwell is counting on exactly that. If Jordan goes back to Sidwell and tells him she has reconsidered, she needs to understand that the woman who walks into that arrangement and the woman who comes out of it on the other side may face very different futures. And one of those futures is not what Sidwell promised her at all. Port Charles is holding its breath this week, darlings. Chase choosing his marriage and his daughter over a principle he cannot quite let himself abandon entirely. Jason arriving home carrying a quiet revolution in his own priorities that is going to reshape everything around him. And Jordan standing at the edge of a decision that could restore something she lost, or cost her everything that remains. Every single thread in this city is alive and pulling toward something. And this summer has made it abundantly clear that the writers are not done delivering moments that stop us cold and remind us why we have loved this show for as long as we have.